Welcome to CF 2.0 Geek Out, where we deep dive into ClickFunnels 2.0 and how to use it to grow your funnel building business.
Hey, I'm Susan.
And I'm Andrea.
Come along with us as we learn and discover how to use the new ClickFunnels and how to make it bend to our will.
Okay, you should be live.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Yay!
We made it. We made it like way later than I just posted in our group. So we would be, but we made it.
Yes, we made it. Are you guys sure we're live?
Am I going to do what?
Oh, I was
sure
just making
we're
sure
live?
you're live. Cool, I see it. All right, we're good.
Okay, so you guys are good in your group. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I will put in at everyone.
Yes. Can I just, and before we get started, like talking deep diving into 2.0, or are we officially starting? Are we waiting still? Should we do the announcement?
Let's do it. We're live. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Before we get super geeky about what we just saw, can I just go back to how they set the stage? Because it was by far the most brilliant marketing I have ever seen in my entire life. Like,
Okay, tell us about it.
it was, I think that was actually as much, if not more so amazing to me than the 2.0 unveil. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, please tell me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. Hey now. Okay. So this was the most amazing marketing. All right. So they had quite a feat in front of them, right? Like they promised 2.0 last year. It's been a year, right? And all of us love ClickFunnels. Or I mean, like I even have on my badge lifer, right? Like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not going anywhere. I think they're the best option, not just because I am like cult of ClickFunnels. I honestly think that they are the best technical solution out there for anyone in online marketing. Okay. And there's a lot of people that would agree with me, but there's also like a huge, like when you start going to the masses, like you have critics, right? And we've all heard it. I mean, so in this whole like 2.0, it's not ready yet, right? Like they had kind of, and Todd even said like the elephant in the room is like, what were you doing, right? But still like, you at the end of the day, you violated some trust with people. And so they're not going to trust you. Okay. And no amount of you saying like, it's here and you'll get access are some people, they're going to be skeptical about that because that's just some people's human nature to do that. Right. And they would be somewhat justified. Okay. So how do you overcome that? Right. And this is what I mean in terms of it was the most brilliant marketing I've ever seen. What speaker did they bring on right before they went live with 2.0, right? The speaker that they brought on, he was a futurist and he laid the foundation speaking to all of the rebel hearts in that audience. And anybody who's with ClickFunnels, I think has a dose of rebel in them, right? So he spoke to all of those rebel hearts to say, hey, it doesn't matter that like this 2.0 functionality, we're talking about the future, right? And that technology is the mass, the independent technology is the wave of the future. And I think in not so many words, he was like, don't you want to be a part of a platform that's like not corrupt, that's of good things, that's going to help you be independent, right? I mean, he spoke to all the rebel hearts in that audience and laid the perfect foundation for all of us to completely, I think, like dismiss the like low level functional stuff that wasn't happening and go to that like bigger invitation of the identity that we all love ClickFunnels for. And that is that we get to be independent, that we get to be entrepreneurs, that we get to craft a life of our own choosing. And we are, entrusting it on a platform that we can actually, like, we're aligned value-wise with this entity, right? So like that, to me, I'm just like sitting in the audience and I'm like, that was the most brilliant staging I have ever seen in my entire life. So it's not Russell and Todd saying, trust us. No. It's like a brilliant, futuristic, rebel, independent, you know what I mean? Who's saying basically like, you want to be on a technology that you can actually be independent on, And so like they're positioning 2.0 as that, I think, in not so many words. So I was just like, I'm just like, wow, that was amazing. I don't know what you guys thought about that, or like if you had those thoughts while you were listening to that, but I'm just like, whoa. Yeah. Anyway,
well, I think like if you're if you're watching our stream right now and you're here at FHL and you watched that happen, like tell us, like, did you also feel that too? So the reason why I don't know what you were talking about, Andrea, is because I actually didn't see him speak. I was in the hallway, so I didn't get to experience that. So now I'm like, what you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And brilliant for sure.
So brilliant. Yeah. And he was even talking about like the exponential curve, right? That you want to be a part of the exponential curve. To me, again, in not so many words, he's basically saying being a part of 2.0 is part of being on the exponential curve, being ahead of it, you know what I mean? And not being a laggard. Like it was freaking brilliant. I'm just in awe. We have Dave and Val in the audience. Yeah, Dave was like, it was awesome. Yeah, I'm just like, I almost want to replay it on slow motion to see like how, I mean, even the way that they like brought Russell on to like almost that the guy was interviewing Russell. You know what I mean? So it was like, it was just so brilliant. Yeah. I don't think they could have had a more brilliant porch to like bring people back in. That is not the same old song and dance of like, sorry, it wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? It was like, it was, you know, from left field. Well, that conversation seems irrelevant because I want to be on the head of technology. You know, it was awesome. But okay. Had to lay the foundation. We can get into 2.0 now. It was just so amazing.
Well, I was going to say that for everyone who is watching this, who has a bunch of FOMO, especially after what Andrea just said, you can come here to fhlencore.com.
Great call, Dan.
And you can drop down $297 and you can watch the replay. I don't know if the replay is only going to, I mean, it says here September 8th through October, or 28th through October 1st, but it also says up here, this one's now playing. Let's see what happens when I click on this.
Well, and the gentleman specifically that sorry, who gave the presentation, what was his name now? Do you know?
It was Russell's first mentor ever.
Yeah.
Mark Joyner.
Mark Joyner?
Was it Mark Joyner?
Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah,
it's Mark Joyner.
Yeah, and so he talks about integration marketing. If you guys want to go down that rabbit hole, and just the credit to who laid that foundation. It was just incredible.
Okay. Well, like I said, so if anybody wants to check out the replay, you can do it right here, $297. So now that you say that, now it's like, do I have to spend the $300? And, I'm hoping what I'm really hoping is that if I pay the $297, that I'll be able to get access to what you guys are getting access to. That's what I'm wondering. But also because I'm in the certification program, I already put a message out to the guys and going, guys, I think that we should get access to this too, even if we're not there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Worst case, I'll wait till the 10th.
I was going to say, like, if anything, like, is it worth $300 for, I'm not saying that they're going to do this, but I think that if I were not here, I probably would take the chance of like betting that they're going to, so we haven't even talked about it yet, but should we just say it right now? Like what?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Today. So us that are here at FHL, we've been given full access to 2.0 with all of the things that we're about to go over in just a moment, which they're calling phase 1. But it includes way more than I think any of us expected.
Yeah.
And we have a 30-day trial, and then we have to start paying after the 30 days. So that's where we're at with things.
Yeah.
Exciting.
And I do think that, at least reading the tea leaves again, the email confirmation. So Val, she's on the call and she pointed it out. And that is in the email confirmation, I think it's also locking in a price that's the $97 price per month instead of what we saw as a $297 a month per price. So pretty awesome.
They might be extending the same offer to anyone who signs up for that Encore deal. So it honestly would be worth $300 to see and be part of that if it's going to save you $200 a month forever.
Right. Yeah.
Well, before we get into this here, my real question is the presentation that Russell and Steve did this morning on was it dramatic demonstrations or whatever they called it. How was that? Was that a good presentation?
It was
I admittedly stepped out for a client meeting.
Okay, so I was there for this one. Andrea, like trading off on things.
Yes.
So Dan, I know that you have seen Steve talk about PT Barnum before, like he's spoken about it at his Offermind event. So it was more of that, but a little bit expanded. I would say like both of them kind of went deeper into it. He told some stories that I had heard of before, told the story about, the mermaid that he always tells when he's talking about P.T. Barnum.
Or the elephant.
Mermaid, the elephant walking across the bridge. Yeah, told all those things. But they started a new thing where they are going to, once a year, they're going to induct a dead marketer into the 2 Club, like an honorary member, like retroactively bringing them into the 2 Club. So they had a big cardboard cutout of P.T. Barnum. They brought it out here. They brought out a 2 Club award, and they all posed for a picture, did the whole picture, like, as if he was getting the award, like they normally do. So, so I think they're going to be kind of like, what they're trying to do with that is looking at the principles that have been laid by people that have come before us. Like the principles are there, and they laid out this framework of principles. I wrote it down. I can find my notes. I can tell you. I don't know if they've laid it out this way before.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but they're in the process of writing a book on this subject.
Yeah, so this might be what they're trying. They're like kind of testing it out and presenting it.
Yeah.
Somewhere I had it written down, but basically it's just learning the principles from past successful people and applying those, like realizing like those are good frameworks. Like you should all be doing these frameworks. They've already been created. Here, I have it right here. If you guys want to know, it's a 5-step framework. It goes, number 1 is get credibility. 2 is inform mass media that it's coming, like building up the hype. 3, involve other influencers. 4 is send the hook to traffic that you control. And you're just sending the hook. You're not sending the message. You're not sending the offer. You're only sending the hook. And then number 5 is send the hook to mass media sources. So they used that framework and went through several examples of when P.T. Barnum did it, when they have done it, like even before they realized that this was a framework, like they realized like this is what we do. If you don't do this, then you're missing out on a lot of money.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think they did this on purpose, but essentially what you just read off is their launch of 2.0.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they did it on purpose.
No, I mean, the lay it out way in advance, and then don't do anything for a while, and set the hook and the whole thing. And like, I don't think they did it on purpose because
I'm not sure that part.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, as you're reading that off, I'm like, oh, sounds like the launch of this thing. Now, before we go any further, I don't know what else the girls want to talk about here, but before we go any further, full disclosure: this image I have right here on my screen. I'm pretty sure everybody in the room today was told not to record anything. This image is actually on the ClickFunnels official site. So I figured if it's on their official site and they haven't pulled it down, it's fair game for us to talk about it.
Public.
Yeah. Otherwise we'd just be like, making things. I'd be like drawing stuff on the screen or something.
Is there any way that you can zoom that in, Dan?
I got it maxed out.
Okay, cool. All right. So I guess what you're seeing is they broke it down into, now we're switching gears. This is ClickFunnels 2.0. So what you're seeing is what they're calling phase 1. And the first thing that I noticed when this graphic got put up on that giant screen was the center icon right there. That's like the gear with the colorful stuff in the middle of it. Yes, that. Right next to that is like that little light triangle coming off of it. In that triangle, it said today. And they were clear, this is a timeline. I'm like, oh, if that's today, that means everything in phase 1 is now, like it's happening now. So like I was freaking out before they even started talking about it. I'm like, that means that like they're gonna, like all this is ready for us. And then so we can talk about what all is in phase 1, and then we can talk about what's not showing on the screen right now.
Well, I can tell you, having been in the certification program and having accidentally seen a few things, I can verify. And well, some of it was just glitches that actually appeared that shouldn't have, stuff like that. So I can, about the only thing I haven't seen any hint of at all was the analytics. Definitely had not seen, or the follow-up funnels, to be honest with you. They are really either.
Yeah.
But everything else, including the payment gateways.
Okay, wait. You just like glossed over that? That's huge. That is so huge. Like, yeah, I mean, and I think that this is a really hard concept for people to understand, especially people who are just beginning. Because at least from my experience, I have one client that he specializes in payment in merchant services and payment gateways. And usually after you either make a crap ton of money in a really small amount of time, or you start to make over $1 million, you're going to run into problems in terms of your funds getting held. That this is a known thing that happens amongst all entrepreneurs. Russell was talking about it today, right? So there is a very, very massive real pain point with funds being held. So, this payment AI, I think, solves that immediate problem point. But this is what they didn't talk about. Do you guys know who is behind the payments AI?
Well, okay, first off, we kind of jumped into the payments AI thing without really explaining what it is or anything. So we're starting basically at the tail end here. We're starting at the very last item on the page right here.
Should we just leave that as a
we'll leave it
as an open loop and start from the beginning?
Well, my suggestion would be, first off, how did they go through the presentation? And I suspect they probably started left to right, like most of us English reading people do. So funnel hubs now.
Left to right is boring.
Yeah, funnel hubs now.
Sure, we can go traditional, Dan. Let's do it.
I know, not like you. So funnel hubs is the only thing that all of us have had available to us up to this point. So why don't you guys go from there?
Well, and I think, go ahead, Susan.
I was just going to say, and blogs. They don't have blogs on that graphic, but it's kind of included with funnel hubs.
Yeah. I think funnel hub and blog are going to be interchangeable. Certainly.
Yeah. And, but they did announce, like, when they were talking about that, we've talked a lot on the show about, they have standalone pages, theme pages, and site pages, and the architecture still doesn't really make sense in my brain. I get lost in there a lot because it just doesn't quite make sense yet for me. It hasn't clicked. But they did talk about on standalone pages, right now we have a very real pain point whenever we're building anything. If we pick the wrong funnel type of step, then some elements are not accessible to us. So we've all been in the situation where we built a beautiful page that's like an order form page or like a sales page, and we couldn't actually add our checkout event, right? Because it wasn't an order form page. So they did talk about how that connection in the current architecture, that it's very hard coded, and that a funnel step type is linked to only a certain set of elements. That is no longer the case, and that you can use standalone pages so that basically they become templates that you can plug any element into, which is a huge time saver and awesome. So they went into that a little bit more when they were talking about funnel hubs and blogs.
Yeah.
I think that's
a huge thing.
Yeah. One thing though, did you guys, I'm in my 2.0 right now, and I don't see many changes. Do you guys?
Well,
I am not in my 2.0.
I would suspect you guys had to go through some sort of super secret link in order to then supposedly upgrade. I haven't.
We did, but in the email, there's no link to that.
I just got it.
You did? Okay. Oh, all right. Val's over in the corner, and she said she just got it. So that it's coming. It's coming.
Okay.
Literally 30 seconds.
Yay! Okay, awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
So we work our way. What's the next? So we got funnel hubs. The next thing on that timeline is ClickFunnels, which is what that's funnels, the funnel editor.
Yeah.
So
now,
2.0.
Did they mention is the funnel editor? Because up here at the top we have the page editor, which realistically must be what we currently are seeing. They didn't say that the funnel editor is different from the page editor, or is it?
I mean, I imagine it just has new elements, but it looked the same in terms of like over on the right side, and the same UX, or similar UX to what we've seen with the funnel hubs.
Yeah, because what I've seen also is where you have the standalone, the themes, and then the site. The next tab over is actually funnels. So again, I would guess because they're all coming from the same place, they gotta most likely be using exactly the same editor. It's just that more now. Maybe when you click on funnels, you're going to get more elements that you can put in, and so you click on funnels, and all the blog elements will go away, and the funnel elements will come in. That's probably what we'll see.
Yeah.
As it does. I mean, in theory, you could put a checkout form inside of a blog page. So we'll see if they allow you to do that or not. I don't, for me, honestly, a page is a page is a page. The only thing that would be different with funnels in particular is to be able to use a different URL for each one of the funnels, or a different domain for each one of the funnels. And then, go through systematically like you would in a funnel, but then still have the funnel functionality inside of the blog. That would be super cool. And that's one of the heartburns that a lot of people are having right now, is that with your workspace, they're calling it, you get one domain. And the one domain, realistically, and I've said this to people, I said, think of it in terms of WordPress. With WordPress, you had one domain and you built the entirety of your blog inside of that one domain. But we're also having, 100 funnels with 100 different domains in them. And so I think somewhere there's got to be a dividing line in there to say, okay, the funnels, you could have multiple domains, but your hub, your blog, that's a singular domain. And that would make sense to me.
I don't know. I mean, Susan and I were talking about this too, though, and that is the domain association at the site level.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what Dan's saying, is like currently you can only assign one domain to all your pages. You can't go in and assign some of your pages one domain and some of your other pages a different domain. Like, it doesn't let you set it at that level. So pretty much whatever domain you set up in your account is the domain that you're going to be using for everything that's in your account currently. I did ask.
That's really good. Sorry, I'm getting like hot off the press. Andrea, we just have you come on in a second. Actually, show it.
So I was just saying that I did ask about the multiple workspaces, multiple sites in one account, and I was basically told that's a future thing, but right now you can only have one per account. It's a 1-for-1 right now.
Yeah. Again, like I said, so basically think of, you got one blog, and in your blog you can put in your posts, and you can put in, so you got your blog posts and your blog pages into your blog, but then the funnels would be basically something different, although they're using the same editor. The funnels, you're going to hopefully have multiple domains, or they're going to have a lot of unhappy people very quickly if you can't have multiple domains. But yeah, I know there's agency accounts coming, and I think the agency account is where you're going to be able to build multiple blogs, multiple hubs, all inside of one singular account.
But I think that there's people that are not agencies that would still benefit from being able to put multiple sites in one account. Okay. Entrepreneurs traditionally, like the definition of an entrepreneur is you have more than one business, which means more than one domain assigned to each of those businesses. So even without the agency stuff, pretend like that's just not even what we're talking about. Like, just the ability to be able to add in multiple sites. Like, for example, we're using my account for our CF 2.0 Geek Out stuff. So that means I cannot go put my own business into my account right now, because I can only put one domain in it right now. I mean, I can add more than one domain. You guys will see, you'll be able to add as many domains as you want, but you can only set one active domain for your site.
Right. And that, as of right now, flows through to every single page, whether it's a standalone page or a site page, or home page or whatever. All those you set at one time, and it lumps them all in together. So we'll see how the funnels are going to be different, and then how long is it going to be before you can have multiple workspaces.
Well, the only wild card though in too is like if they do connect the domain to the site, right? And it's a one-to-one and that's the pricing model. They also introduced the URL redirect tool today. So like, I mean, it could be that you only have one site, but if you just do a URL redirect, then you could easily get around, you know what I mean? Whatever domain you wanted to use.
Okay. I'd have to see that.
Yeah. We don't know enough. Right.
Yeah.
But let's get, I think there's a few more things to get to with that. So we'll come back to the URL redirect thing.
Yeah.
Andrea's jumping around.
Sorry.
Shocking.
Okay. So we talked about funnel editor. That's the ClickFunnels on that phase one. We know that there's a page editor. That's what we're using to create the pages for funnel hubs currently. The next one on there is follow-up funnels.
Yeah. And we do, sorry, not to cut you off, Susan, but just for folks, like be checking your email because like Val just got access to hers, the new 2.0. So it's coming. They're rolling out.
So does that mean our existing accounts that we have right now, Andrea, it's not going to be like, oh, next time you log in, now you have all this stuff. Like we're actually having to go log into a new place?
I don't know, because I mean, Val had one from before. So I'm going to guess that it just is your email association and maybe it'll just update with a refresh. I don't know.
Hopefully, because I mean, for people that have already built stuff,
they're
not going to want to rebuild that stuff.
No. No, and also just to be clear for anybody who's watching this who is not currently at Funnel Hacking Live, you will not have the ability to upgrade at this point. Right. Only people who are at Funnel Hacking Live until October 10th is the date I've seen now. Yes, they did update that because it was October 4th. Yeah. So they did update that officially in their presentation that it's going to be October 10th now. So, but we don't know what that encore thing is going to bring either. So you might want to go sign up for that. Yeah. Okay, so then moving on to the follow-up funnels, which we know is emailing. I was like shocked to see this up there on the screen. I was not expecting this.
Yeah. And if you guys, I mean, if you guys don't know me, so like I should say I am an avid active campaign person. I have almost 100% of my clients on active campaign. I would consider myself a power user of active campaign. I'm an affiliate of active campaign. Like I really believe in an active campaign for a lot of reasons. And even what I saw today was like, I think I might be able to tell my customers that they can use this instead of active campaign. Like, again, proof is in the pudding, but based on what we saw, I'm impressed. Yeah. I wrote down some notes for follow-up funnels specifically. There's going to be the ability to do split test emails. So basically, you know how if you're familiar with ActiveCampaign and the workflow of ActiveCampaign, and you have like your splits and stuff, it basically the screenshot that they showed us, it looked like that. But instead of it being maybe they'll have both capabilities, but like an ActiveCampaign, you have like conditions. Like if this is the situation, or if they have this tag, or if they bought this thing, send them this direction. And if not, send them this direction. So it's similar to that flow, only it's split testing. So it's like you're testing, like, let's see if this set of emails is performing better than this set of emails, which is awesome. Like that's well, really cool. I think it's even bigger than that, Susan, because you can't do split testing in ActiveCampaign right now based on email impact, like click-through rate and open rate, right? Like that you can test. Yeah. But the hardest part of the whole equation, and this is true with Google Analytics too, is it's not connected to the conversion event. So like you have to do all these like duct tapes, right? To say like, okay, yeah, I know that this was more successful from a click-through rate and from an open rate, but when it comes to a conversion event, right, you have to get really creative on like how can we make sure that this is attributed to this conversion event? And how can we like make sure that like a 3% conversion on our funnel can actually be connected to this email campaign, right? Like it's very, very tricky. And same with Google Analytics, right? Like, yes, you can do site tracking, and yes, you can do UTM, and yes, you can like connect all the dots. You could pay so much money for things like wicked reports and things like that to associate with the conversion event. But at the end of the day, our conversion is happening in ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is the brain of the conversion, right? And so now what I saw in there, it was like not just split testing in terms of open rate and click-through rate, it was actually attributing conversion to the split testing of the email campaign. That is like, if you are a copywriter listening to this, you should jump on that. Like, I don't know what metaphor is appropriate these days, but like you should be on that because that is so
appropriate these days.
Huge. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, and I think what that does is it raises the bar for copywriters in terms of like no longer, I think, are at least funnel hackers going to hold you accountable for open rate and click-through rate, right? Which like to me is typical copywriter. Like now it's like, no. I can actually have a legit conversion rate conversation with you. That is huge, huge.
And I think that's really the, like, you know, we think, at least in my brain, and I think in some of the other people that I've talked to about, like, well, why do you want an all-in-one platform? And it's like, well, I don't want to have to pay money for all the platforms. Like, it saves me money. It's easier. Yeah. And I think that like this is taking that to the next level, and that if you have everything connected so seamlessly together all in one place, and they can communicate true data to one another, you have like real, they keep calling it real-time data. And we haven't gotten to the analytics part yet, but there's going to be so many metrics that you're going to be able to see and use just because of everything being together in the way that they're building it.
Yeah. And Val in the comments asked, I think, the $1 million question that's not just related to the CRM aspect, but everything, you know, and I think Susan and I are going to keep getting it. And that is, can I get rid of this and go to 2.0, right? And like, what's it going to take? And so we'll talk about that in general, but specifically with Active Campaign, like how would I feel comfortable saying, hey, I really think that it's legit and you could get rid of your Active Campaign and come over to 2.0. What I would need to see happen is like in Active Campaign, I live in the context area, being able to filter, being able to slice, be able to understand the customer journey, being able to see like who bought what, and like, let me give you a report and what does that look like? And how can I create an automation so that, you know, whatever situation happens, right? Like there's a lot of these features in Active Campaign that, again, I think is in 2.0, but what we saw is we saw a lot of the automation part, which I think is amazing. We didn't see a lot of the CRM aspect, right? So the CRM in my mind is like, I can go in and I can look at my contacts through any slice dice feature that I need to in order to tell you what's happening with those contacts, right? And it's not a multi-list strategy, which is just not a good strategy at all, which is what the foundation of Actionetics was, right? It's a list strategy, which is just, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like tags over lists is why I love Active Campaign. So, and if you really look at like most of the blogs out there that are talking about CRM strategy, most of them will tell you that a 1, 2, or 3 list strategy at most is the best strategy to have, and that you should do tag management over list management. I could get on that soapbox for a really long time, but all that to say, that's, I mean, answer to your question, Val, is like, for me, I do think the automations, at least what I saw today, look really promising, but I want to dive into the CRM aspect and give that proof test of like, okay, can we look at it through any lens that we need to in terms of filter? And I can tell you what's happening with your customers. So I can tell you like this many people bought this thing. They also bought this thing. You know what I mean? Like this is the many people that like did this lead gen, all of that would need to be in place in my mind.
Yeah.
It also raises it like, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, just so that everyone is aware and on the same page, that follow-up funnels and the CRM thing that you were talking about are 2 separate features. We already know about the CRM from the first time they were, telling us about CF 2.0, but we do know today, like that's not part of phase 1, that's part of phase 2. That's a future thing.
Which one are you thinking is the future one?
The CRM. It's not.
That's not what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the CRM funnel. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
Okay. Because you keep talking about the CRM aspect of it, and I just wanted to make it clear, like the CRM feature of ClickFunnels is not available right now and won't be.
No. Oh, so this is actually really good, Susan. So let me define what I mean by CRM. So I'm not talking about like pipelines or opportunities or anything like that. What I mean by CRM is that I can go into a central repository where all of my contacts live, and I can look at that list, just like in an active campaign, if you go to contacts, right?
Yeah.
And I can see either like in mass, I can do bulk action on my contacts. I can, do filters on those contacts. I can, do whatever I need to do in terms of understanding who is currently in my database. And I can initiate action based on that database. That's what I'm meaning by CRM. And I do think that it's available in 1.0, or in this first release.
Well, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I think to some degree it has to be, because in order to have sales, in order to have purchases, and to have the follow-up funnels, you definitely got to be collecting whatever information from the client. Now, I mean, a CRM may go to a much greater level about creating future sales and all this, but they're going to have all the information on your existing client and what they did, and then the follow-up funnels and the results of those follow-up funnels. But the question I really had was, so if this is basically doing away with Active Campaign and Zapier, because you need Zapier in order to send all the stuff.
No.
You don't need it? That's a direct integration?
Nope, it's a native integration with ClickFunnels.
So, all right, you're just getting rid of just Active Campaign then. How much would that save everybody?
So at a minimum right now, if you have, I don't think they have the 500 contact plan anymore, but like 500 contacts, it's $15 a month if you pay month to month. But 1,000, I want to say it's at about 25 to 35, depending on when you came in. And so that's, and then most people though are over 1,000. Like the average for a lot of my customers is between 1,500 to 2,500, in terms of what they pay, which is again about
contacts.
79.
But they're paying what? It's only like $50 a month then, 50 to $100 a month.
50 to 100. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So it's not that much.
It depends, because I have a client that has a 12,000, going on 15,000 email list, and it's like $200 a month. So
I have, same. Yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing, right? Is like, they didn't talk at all about like needing to charge people by the contact level, which is one of the gripes that a lot of my clients have about Active Campaign, and rightfully so. So I think that's interesting. It's a really interesting play.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting in here is the ability, I don't know if it's active yet, but you're supposed to be able to have the ability to upload all of your videos. So you could do away with Vimeo and Vimeo and all that nonsense, especially with Vimeo nonsense that they make you jump through.
Yeah.
But then the other day, Russell had a podcast where he was talking about his acquisition from Brad Callen of Voomly and the rest of that suite of products, Toonly, Doodly, and all that. And some of the stuff that's in Voomly, whether I think that, they're going to keep Voomly as a standalone product, but some of the stuff you can do in there where you can basically build video funnels based upon what people do while watching the video. You can send them to other videos and other sites and all kinds of stuff. So not only do we have funnels here, but we're also going to have video funnels.
Yeah, so cool.
So go get yourself a Voomly account while it's still cheap.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, should we get to the next one that all of us probably are like the most interested in?
Well, I think the membership sites thing, we've pretty much been seeing those for the last year or so. Was there any updates?
No, but they said a couple things today that I really picked up on. So they said I don't know if you caught it, Dan, but they said that basically you could do anything you wanted to in membership sites, like that it is infinitely scalable in terms of what you can do in there, which caught my attention because that's not normal language for ClickFunnels, right? Like that's not something that they usually, they talk about it in terms of like, you can do whatever you want from a marketing perspective, but my interpretation when they were talking about membership funnels is that like you can make a membership as complicated as you want it to be, like as complex as you want it to be. And I was like, that is not normal language. Yeah, go ahead.
I wrote down.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I wrote down what he said because I did catch that too. I was like, oh, this is good. He basically said it can be as simple as you want it to be, where you're drag and drop what you need in there. Or it's as open. It's open enough that you can make it as complex as you want it to be. So he was like, basically, like, if I decide I want to go create this crazy thing and I want it to do like all kinds of cool things, like, I can do that because it's open. It's the structure of it is open enough. And like, I mean, when we look at it in comparison to what we have in 1.0, like, there is no open. You have what you have there out of the box. You have what you have. There's no openness to it. It's like, no, you put in your lessons. This is the structure we're giving you. This is how it's going to function. You have a little bit of design customization, but that's it. So it's like completely different. Which I mean, we're excited about.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see that because from what I've seen compared to one, I mean, and having been working in the editor quite a bit, especially the last couple of weeks, I don't see how it can be any different realistically than 1.0. The only thing I would say is because each one of the lesson pages is going to be built as an individual page. So that's probably what they're talking about there, is the actual content on the page. So you know how you build the lessons separate from the page inside of ClickFunnels, and then you just drop in the element to show the content, show the lesson. What they're probably talking about is you can design the entirety of the page differently. And that because every single lesson is going to be its own individual page, you can design every single one of it because everyone has its own unique URL. And so because of that, you could design every single page to look different. But then that goes back to the standpoint of from moving somebody through a journey in a learning experience like that, you probably wouldn't want every single page to look different.
No. So I think you're right, Dan, in that, like, I think most people, when they're going to think like, oh, I can go and make it look any way that I want to, I think you're on the right track of that. Like, they can organize their content any way that they want to. Whereas like in 1.0, we have sections, we have rows, we have columns, we have elements still, but you're still like, especially without, your, what are they called? To make our editor window full width, and you open up a lesson to edit it, it's super narrow, and you gave, what are those called that you created?
Well, it's known as a book. It's known as a book.
A bookmarklet.
Bookmarklet.
Yeah.
It's known as a bookmarklet. What Susan's talking about is I made a bookmarklet that you can click on it, where normally a lesson inside of ClickFunnels 1.0 is really narrow. I just built a bookmarklet that makes it go full width screen. Just so you
when you're editing.
Yeah. So just so it's a little easier to edit in.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's limitations. There's limitations in the lessons in 1.0. So, but what were you good? I'm interested in what your thought is, Dan, on like how it's not really much different from 1.0.
Well, because the essentials of the editor are virtually the same. You've been in both, and each one, and I've looked at the HTML, and the HTML is basically identical. And so you take, like anything else, you take your section, you drop in your section, you put in your rows that has a certain number of columns, you put in your elements. With 1.0, one of those elements is the content that pulls in then dynamically whatever lesson is that you're on. So there is a limitation there in that there's a particular element that has to get dropped somewhere onto the page, and then all the stuff from the lesson goes into that space. Now, you can make that space as big as you want, but, a little bit of code, you can make it look like, feel like whatever you want, but there is a limitation there. So I can see how, and otherwise the rest of the design around it will stay the same lesson after lesson after lesson. But if what they're saying is, okay, well, you can design every single lesson completely differently. This lesson can have a red background, and the next one can have a green background, and the next one can have unicorns on it. And you could have, your video at the bottom instead of your video at the top. And you can put your navigation from the left on this one to the right on this one. But again, from a membership standpoint, I don't think that's a good idea.
No. So I guess time will tell. Like, we have to get in there and play with it and see, like, because we've seen the we've seen the user side of it. We have not seen the building and editor side of it, so we don't really know what it looks like yet. I mean, as everyone starts getting access, that's your FHL. We're gonna be able to get in there and start looking at it. So,
well, I think the how it's going to look is going to look just like the regular page editor, because every page again is built individually. So for every single page, you might have a template you're going to start with. So you're going to build your template, and again, just standard stuff. Let's say on your template, you put the navigation down the left-hand side. Well, for every single lesson, then you're going to open up that same template, and it's going to have the navigation down the left-hand side. And the navigation will be dynamically, dynamically loaded up based upon the URLs that you say are to be associated with the membership. So you're going to build your 5 lessons on 5 different pages, and then you're going to go into your navigation or however they're going to be connected. But somewhere you're going to say, okay, I want these 5 lessons in this particular order, and I want them to show in this navigation element. I would suspect how this is going to work.
So I think based on what we see how the blogs work, I think it's probably going to be similar to that. And I think that's what you're describing, in that you can create your template pages. And when you go and make a blog post, you can assign a template page to the blog post. So I think you probably could have multiple designs of pages, and then you would just assign it. Like you said, you wouldn't necessarily want to do that inside of lessons that belong to all one product.
No, I think that's a perfect example is with a blog. Yeah. You could make every single blog page or every single blog post look totally different. But again, that's not what people are used to. You go to your blog on, how to do knitting, your knitting blog, and you're used to a certain structure, and everyone comes up and you just go there to consume the content that's within that blog. I think the same with membership sites for the most part. You go there to consume content. Now, unless we start making this even more experiential somehow, I don't see, and I don't even know how you would do that. Andrea would probably know something like that. But so I don't know. I'll let your little brain spin around for a while on that one, Andrea. And then when you figure out what it's supposed to look like, let me know and I'll build it for you.
All right.
So I think I want to hear Andrea's thoughts for sure on this, but I think we can sit here and speculate all day long, but we have the ability to go in and look at it. So I think we just need to not at this moment, but we're going to go in there. We're going to show you, I know in each of our groups, Dan, we're streaming into your group, we're streaming into our Geek Out group. We're going to be showing you what this looks like when we're, back home, have stable connections, and we can share screens and we can share what this looks like. So just wherever you're at, wherever you're watching this at, just stay tuned. We're going to be showing you stuff.
And I don't know about you, Susan and Dan, but we've been doing maybe once a week in our respective groups, right? In terms of updates, just because we've kind of been on some weeks we're gosh, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? What's new? But I think right now that needs to accelerate. To me, it's at least 3 times a week where we're in there actively trying to do stuff, because I know, Susan, you're in the same boat that I am, and that our clients are actively telling us, do we move over? Do we not? Right. I mean, because even if you got in today, you're still going to be paying for 1.0 and 2.0. They did say that 1.0 can go on pause, but at least what I know about pause is you can't do transactions on pause. You know what I mean? So I don't really know what the benefit of pause is.
They said, there's pause, but then they said originally a year ago, so who knows what's changed, is that you were going to be able to have a different level where basically the funnels would keep running, but you couldn't add any more funnels, you couldn't add any more pages or something, I think. So,
I thought that I heard them say that again today, but I maybe was just hearing what I wanted to hear. So if anyone watching it was there and you're yeah, I definitely heard that, please let us know too in the comments. And we can confirm that. I can get that confirmed by somebody. So what's next? Because I think that's without actually getting in and showing membership site stuff. I don't know. Is there anything else to say about that one?
No, I think that's what we really just dive into, which will be exciting because I mean, we all specialize in high-end membership areas. And so I think that'll probably be where we'll really dive in.
What we've been waiting for.
I have to say, right, I know. And I have to say, before we go to the next one, there was something that happened today that's not on this timeline that's really important. Right. And I felt a little bit validated, to be honest. But I was like, so Todd basically inserted about 3 slides, right? I'm going to go back into my pictures. So one of the slides that he inserted is that he did confirm that they built 2.0 with an open API. I can't express how huge that is. And if you have an inkling of software development in your bones, I would be creating apps to go on this platform now. Like, it is so huge. If you are an API developer, I mean, it might even be worth it in your, whatever entrepreneur business that you run to be looking for an API developer in order to get something on 2.0, because it's just huge. And so he did confirm today that they have an open API.
Yeah.
Well, I will show you guys this.
Yeah.
Because again, this was openly available on the interwebs. Open API is part of phase 2.
Yeah. But the way that Open API works, right? So they had to have constructed it. Like, whenever somebody is developing code, right? Like, and they're developing like a feature, for instance, in order to have an API available in an open API system, you actually have to programmatically add that when you're adding that feature, right? So to me, when they say open API, they may open up the ability to get those various endpoints or to get the documentation to leverage the API. But I guarantee, I mean, he even said that, like, this stuff is 80% complete, but like, it's there. I mean, it is not like a new thing that they're developing, right? Like, they had to have baked it in when they built it, which is just, again, it's huge. It's huge.
Well, they were talking about that already at last year's Funnel Hacking Live.
No, they never confirmed about the open API.
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
they didn't.
We were suspecting.
I will bet money.
I'll find it.
We were speculating.
I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
We knew that. We knew based on the little apps thing down in the corner, and we see like marketplace stuff all over it that we couldn't, access anywhere. But yeah.
Well, so I'm showing. Let me just say this real quick here. So I'm showing phase 2. I was thinking that, and I was like, well, because I want people to know what's still coming, so that you're not saying to yourself, oh my God, what about this and what about that? Well, okay, if you're looking for cart funnels or stores, so basically the e-commerce stuff, that's still coming. When is coming? I doubt they made any comment.
They did not say.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, so they're going to have a built-in affiliate system of some sort, the open API, countdown funnels, whatever the heck that is, CRM funnels, and internal apps and conversion boosters, again, whatever that is. So those are whenever, probably next Funnel Hacking Live, because they're going to have, with all the stuff that they're dumping on us in the next couple of weeks here, they are going to have so many help tickets. They are going to have so many bug reports. They're going to have so many feature requests, and they've already got probably 100 feature requests that they're dealing with already. So they got a lot of work to do over the next year.
Yeah. Yes.
Should we step back? So back to phase 1. There's 2 more things left on here that we haven't really dove into yet. But yeah, if you have something before we move on.
Before we go there, because there was 2 more things that he said before they got to analytics. So the one that he mentioned was global products. And then he did, we knew that, we had heard that, but he confirmed it again. And again, that's huge for us to have a central location for us to manage products. And see how they're doing. And then the third thing he mentioned is a URL redirect, which I thought was really clever. So for those of us who are more technical, I don't think that I'll just speak for myself. I don't put enough emphasis on this. To me, it's like URLs are a part of the game, right? But all of the like more marketing conscious people that I work with, they very much, oftentimes the conversation goes like this: Andrea, I have a podcast. Andrea, I have this presentation that I'm going to make. Andrea, I'm going to a conference. Hey, Andrea, I'm going to make a presentation, at XYZ. And I want to be able to just say this URL, right? And then that it just works, right? It has to be something that's easy to say and easy to listen to and easy to type in. And of course, like we have the conversation of like, okay, great. But, this is the URL. Like, okay, we can do a redirect. We could do a bit.ly link. We could do, right? Like we get all clever on the tech side of like, I know this is what you want, but like, really? Let me just give you a QR code. Like, come on. So this was so interesting because I think obviously Russell's the marketer, right? He said exactly that. I want to just be able to like go in and get a URL and then like type it in and say whatever I want in that moment. And it still points to the right spot. And that essentially is what they've created. It's called a URL redirect, where basically your marketing person can go crazy with the cheese whiz in terms of whatever URL they want to preach out into the world, right? And then they could still not totally mess up your, how you have set up your paths and your domain structure for a given funnel. So I thought that was super cool.
Well, yeah, the thing is actually all that's already built right into ClickFunnels 1.0.
There's URL redirect in
you
1.0.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
But not to this level, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty rudimentary. It's pretty rudimentary.
Okay.
Like,
so along with this,
I'm telling you guys, you can do it.
Okay. Well, along with this,
but it's pretty simple.
Yeah. I also wrote down, so they were talking about URL redirects. So you also are going to have the ability to do split testing URLs. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I wrote down was UTM parameters connected with that as well.
Yeah.
So it should be probably a lot simpler.
Well, they have the split testing. They have the UTM in
split testing pages, split testing URLs, and I still don't fully wrap my head around what that means. But it's not just split testing your pages like we have in 1.0.
So you create a split test and you give one, mydomain.com, and you give the other one susansdomain.com, but they're the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something. So all your split testing is just the domain or the subdomain or whatever it would be.
Did it come out of my mouth easier, and did people hear it and use it and do something with it? That's what they're testing.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy, huh? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So like pretty much like it feels like Russell's like dreaming it up. Like, I wanted to do this, and they're like, okay, let's give that to Russell. Like, I wanted to do this. Okay, let's figure out how to give that to Russell.
Yep. I'm telling you though, like, I don't know how many countless conversations I've had just beating my head against like, what did you just say in the podcast? Crap. You know what I mean? And like, all right, let's redirect.
Okay, so then next on my list that they went into was the analytics, which is the next thing on that phase one graphic. I think pretty much I mentioned it earlier. The major benefit of having all of these services all in one platform is that you're going to get actually accurate, correct analytics because you can get the correct data. It's not just guessing based on outside sources giving you that data. It's like, no, this is all connected. We know exactly what the conversions are. We know exactly all the right information to give the correct information. And they pretty much said,
source of truth. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
Say that one more time because I was talking over you.
No, I just said, and it's connected to the source of truth of conversion.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's data right from the source. And I think we can expect to see everything that we would want to see in analytics. Like they started, I think was this where they put up a screenshot on their slides of like a whole list of here's all the things that you can track and that we're going to report on. And it was such a tiny written list and long list that even my camera like picture, like I still couldn't read it. So I didn't really, but they listed off some of them. And it's everything you would expect that you're going to be able to track.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I want to go back here because there was one thing that Andrea dropped, and we didn't even really pick up on it because it goes along with something else. And what she said is global products. So how it had been in 1.0 is every sales funnel you built, you had to recreate the products. Now you can create your book product. So I'm selling .com secrets. I'm assuming I wrote it myself. And I'm selling my book. And I can just create the product one time, and I can connect that to 57 different funnels and sell the book only created one time out of 57 different funnels. And then the other thing you can do is, let's say you built an OTO page and it's working great in funnel number 1, and you say, okay, I want to use that in funnel number 3 and funnel number 7. And all you got to do is just clone that page, basically. Or I don't even know if you got to clone it. You can take that page and you can put it into the funnel stream that you built and just run it right through that OTO. So this OTO is working great. I want it at the end of every single funnel from now on. And click, and you can put it into every single funnel without having to rebuild the page.
Right. What I'm really interested to see with global products is not only like it's amazing. I have a central repository to be able to control my products, right? And see how they're performing. What I think will be really interesting is if I could go one level deep, say I'm selling this product as an OTO here, as a main offer here, as a bump over here, as a downsell over here, and I could see like which one has the highest conversion on that particular product in the way that I sell it. That to me is what opens up there too, which is really exciting.
Yeah, because we're going to be able to see all of the data and analytics associated with those placements of that product, and but have it all be connected to one product rather than it being like, well, I have this product here and I have this product here and this, like sometimes you get like so many of them duplicated because you have it in so many different funnels, and you like lose track of like, well, you have to like start clicking through all of the funnels and looking at all the data and then like compile it all together and like figure out like where is it performing the best. And it's just going to simplify everything.
What I would guess is also going to clean up the problem that we have sometimes, especially with membership sites, where if you're basing the restriction on the product, you start off with one product, and then you go, okay, well, I'm going to do a 3-pay, and then I'm going to do a 6-pay, and then I'm going to change how it works, and I'm going to change the price on it. And pretty soon you got 12 products all of a sudden in there. So hopefully that
click on every single one of them.
That's why we always have to just set a tag, because it's like otherwise you run into trouble real fast.
Right. Yeah. And you can never delete a product because then you're going to lose all your data. So like I don't know if you guys like if Pro Tools has a tool that you can hide a product, you know what I mean? Because as soon as you delete your product, all the data's gone with it too. It's horrible.
I don't.
Yeah.
I guess you can delete a product, but you can't delete the sales of it. The sales will always stay in the data.
Right. So if you're deleting the product from the order page to like prevent people from buying that again, like you're losing the tags, the access that people had. The purchase is no longer associated with people anymore. So
you have a bunch of orphan records that are like, it's a nightmare.
So if you can go to a page now and you say, okay, here's my main product and here are my 2 bumps, and you just go click, click, click and put all 3 of them in place. And then later on you say, bump number 2 isn't working very good. So let's pull up bump number 2 and let's put in a substitute bump. And that's just a matter of going click, click.
Yeah.
Instead of having to rebuild everything.
Yep. It's awesome. They also said with analytics that they're going to give us their reports. That's huge. Yeah, so like there'll be reports, right? Or they're going to give us the same reports that they look at. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then again, what's the timeline on that? I mean, it's a conversation
I don't think it's phase 2.
This conversation that the 3 of us have had many times is that we all got access to it in one way or another back in like March, I think it was, and it was horribly broken. And I started really looking at it again about 30 days ago or so, and they had made massive improvements. And since then, the amount of improvements, I mean, it's daily. Every day I go in there, there's something that's working better or fixed or I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw it, even just something simple as in the style guides. It used to be you had to set everything in rems. Now you set it in pixels, but it shows you the corresponding rem next to it. So it dynamically creates that as you put in your pixels. And it's just like, that's so much easier because we're so used to using pixels. And some of the sliders just in the last couple of days, you guys may not have seen it because you've been busy. Just in the last couple of days, some of the sliders they've changed. Instead of going there's some of the sliders that you could like make a right margin on something like 1,000 pixels. And so they're fixing that, and other ones that should be like going by 2s or 5s, we're going by 1s or even 10ths or something. And so they're cleaning all that up. How it got built that way in the first place is a bigger question than, the fact that they're fixing it now. Because
So I misspoke before. Reporting comes with analytics. And like what Andrea said, just in case you missed that, was basically Russell said like or maybe Todd said it, any of the reports that they actually want to have in their business that they need to create for their business, they're going to give us the ability to create that same report for our businesses.
Makes sense. The code's already been written.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right. Okay. Final one.
So now we're getting to the final payments AI, which is where Andrea wanted to start. But glad we left it till the end. So what the heck is that?
Oh my gosh. I can't express I don't know how much you guys have had to deal with. There's all these different models of payment, recognition, right? Like we're all pretty familiar with like one-time payment, subscription, and payment plan. Then we have to pick a particular payment gateway. If we want to add both Stripe and PayPal, we have to use CF Pro Tools. PayPal is like the most horrible pain in the butt, and it's a horrible user experience. Like the current understanding and use of payment gateways is, again, pretty rudimentary and painful. So basically, my understanding of what Payments AI is, which let's find out who owns Payment AI, because I have a theory. So the Payments AI, what it is it's like a layer over top that says, don't worry, you don't have to worry about all the complexity of being a merchant service. We're going to do that for you. We're just going to be that intermediate so that now you can choose whoever you want as your payment gateway. You can even split it, meaning like, that problem that I said in terms of like, if people make, a significant amount of money in a very short amount of time, they will get their funds held. Well, now this allows you infinite flexibility in terms of like, for up to 10,000, I wanted to go to PayPal. And then the next 10, I want to go to Stripe. And then the next 10, I want to go to NMI or whatever it is, right? Like they can actually control that, which is huge. And then one of the options is you can also use Payments AI as your merchant service. Again, who do we think owns Payments AI?
Do you know the answer to that?
Are
you alluding to like, was it acquired?
Yeah. So, if you were a $1 billion business and you saw the billions of dollars that were getting processed on your platform, that would be a pretty good move to be a merchant service on top of a platform that publishes there that, generates that amount of transactions. Like, it's so brilliant. This is my theory. Yes. And
so that's your theory, but where there's a payments.com.
Right. I did a Google search of Payments AI. I couldn't find it. Said, who owns Payments AI?
Payments.ia.
I mean, it could be payments.io maybe. But
I couldn't find it right away. I didn't, just a quick search. So, okay, while you're looking, Dan, some other highlights for folks for listening. So the other highlights is that I talked about payment options. You also will be able to manage how you want the, basically like if credit cards fail, which is a really big problem, especially with subscription models, right? Like, what do you want the rules to be? Like, do you want to charge again in 3 days? Do you want to wait a day? Do you want to be more aggressive and just cut it off? Or do you want to try a backup payment plan if they have it on file? Or do you want to try a lesser amount to try to keep the transaction? So pretty much you can set up whatever rule you want in terms of handling failed payments, which is huge. And so that was pretty awesome. Also, managed subscriptions was all in there, and like a more calculated way to manage subscriptions, gateway routing. They introduced this term called dunning, which again is like where do I want to route that money, and then how do I want to handle the failed payment path. So anyway, it was I mean, I think payment AI and like just the pain of payments, like at least for me, right? Like Stripe still does it for me because of where I'm at in my business. But I do think that like once you start to get to higher level numbers and faster amount of money coming in, I think you need to get pretty solid on what your payment gateway is and your merchant service in order to, you know, make sure that your funds don't get held. And so it's just, pretty impressive that they took that on.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that you didn't mention that I think are huge. And I think there's specifically a lot of people in our group in particular that are going to love this. Okay, so these, I don't even know which one to start with. So first thing is that one of the merchants that you can set up on Payment AI is Coinbase. So you would be able to accept cryptocurrency that is run through Coinbase specifically in your transactions if you so choose. So you would be able
to. So all you crypto nerds, you got a shout out there.
Well, okay, that immediately sends a trigger into my brain, which says, okay, how do you then, when somebody gets to the payment, they get to their checkout, and they want to buy your book for $7.95, do you give them an option to click on to use?
You can choose.
So
crypto?
You get to enable or disable any and however many you want to. And you can offer all of them probably for a payment option.
You got 12 different options here, and you can pick one of your 12 different options to do your payment through.
So they showed like, so Payment AI, if it's its own merchant, Stripe, PayPal, Coinbase, and then did I get it right? Klarna?
Yeah. Oh, Klarna, that was also huge. We should talk about that.
Yeah. Yes. So Klarna is a service that provides financing. So if
you high ticket people in the audience.
Yeah. So like payment plans, but financed payment plans. So if you're serving a customer base that they can't afford your high ticket stuff and they need to finance it, it's like all built in. Huge.
It is huge.
And then the other thing is that Payments AI supports all countries, because I know that people that do not live in, you know, the United States, North America, probably I don't even know how Europe has handled, like, are there issues there too? I don't know. But I know that there's a lot of you out there that live in countries where you're like, I don't know how to set this up so I can start accepting payments from people that live, you know, in different countries. So they said literally all countries. They're like, however many countries there are, that's how many countries. Like they were trying to remember the number. So it supports all countries. I think that's awesome, huge. And then Andrea, you mentioned gateway routing, but you kind of breezed over it. Yeah. Gateway routing is, you did kind of mention what it is before, but not in connection to that. So if you wanted like 50% to go to Stripe and 50% to go to PayPal, like you can do that. That's also the load balancing, but I think those are separate ideas, right? Like gateway routing is like the actual, like someone makes a purchase and you want 50% of their purchase to go one place and 50% of the purchase to go to another place, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah.
And then you can set volume limits on gateways, which I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah.
That's all that I have written down.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me too. Yeah. Overall, I mean, I was much more impressed, you know what I mean, with what it was more than I even thought. So
yeah. Now the fun begins of seeing how much of it is actually functioning.
Yeah. Yep. One thing I was always curious about though is like watching the audience reaction. People weren't going super crazy. You know what I mean? Like not your typical ClickFunnels crazy. And I'm wondering, you know, I think people are maybe a little bit gun shy because of what happened last year. So it'll be interesting to see how this rolls out.
That, and I think that like some of the things, I think that people just don't understand the magnitude of like what they're about to be given.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Which again, I think why all of us are gainfully employed, right? Is because like we nerd out on this stuff. And so our clients don't necessarily need to. Like but I can with confidence say, like, I was starting to get a little skeptical about like Go High Level was starting to do some pretty cool stuff. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. That is pretty cool. You know what I mean? But like now after seeing what I saw today, I'm like, no, I'm still made the right choice. ClickFunnels all the way.
Yeah. Back when they first got last FHL, when they were talking about CF 2.0, and I don't want to jump ahead because like they're still rolling this out. We still haven't even like gone in there and like actually built a funnel yet. But they said like when we're done, there is no competition. Like there will be no competition. Like this is going to be the new standard. And I mean, we're seeing that.
Yeah, Todd in so many words was basically like, yeah, it probably wasn't good that we rolled it out, but I'm not really worried about it. You know what I mean? And after what we saw today, I'm like, yep, I can see why.
They don't care. One other thing that I just found in my notes, which I was like really excited to hear because it's a problem that a lot of people deal with, is, and this came when they were talking about the page editor. The new editor and 2.0 has the ability built in to auto optimize your images. So if you are uploading a like huge image and you really only needed it like 300 pixels, in the past in 1.0, it would be taking that huge image and compressing it during page load, which is slowing down the load time of your page. It's going to auto optimize it. So that will not be an issue moving forward in 2.0. And it does it for huge images, getting scaled down to small images, and also mobile. So I was like, yes, because so many people don't like take care of that when they're putting their images on their pages.
Yeah, it's so true.
It's like an inconvenience. It's like, I don't want to have to go and scale this down. I'm just going to upload it.
Yeah. And they did something really ballsy. I mean, they ran a live speed test during the session. That was ballsy. And yeah, exactly, Dan, what you're seeing here. Yep.
Yeah, and I put in my email address, but I don't want everybody on the planet to see that. So
let's share that URL with everybody. Can you read it out?
What did because you sent me something earlier.
I did. It was a QR code and then it had the URL on it, but I don't have it.
Okay. So this is funnels.myclickfunnels.com/page-speed-opt-in -51B00.
No. I think it was just funnels.myclickfunnels.com/speed, if I remember right. I think it was just /speed.
Yeah, or speed test or something.
I mean, you can pull up my message in the messenger and see what I had sent you, but
yeah, I can't.
I can also share that into our group. I'll share that into our Geek Out group, and Dan, you can share that into your group.
But it brings you to this page here, and they're showing that basically they're perfect. So we'll see.
Okay. I got confirmation from my secretary over here. She's handing me notes like I'm, like you're on the news, and they're like handing you like breaking news. It is /speed. Also, let's see, I think we did mention 30-day trial. Okay, so on October 10th, when it is launching to everybody publicly, they're also launching it with the Your First Funnel Challenge. So the first thing that they're going to have everybody do is go through Your First Funnel Challenge, where before we were like, I think they were saying Funnel Hub Challenge first. Yeah. And I really think that they were just doing that because that's what they knew they were going to have ready first. But now that we have all of it, I think they're like, okay, no, we're going to do funnel. So the funnel will be rolling out with that when the.
So you're saying that basically they're going back to what they gave us a year ago, where you had the 4 different options for the trainings, and so now they're revamping that, and we're just going to do one. So,
I mean, they didn't mention any other challenges. They only mentioned today the funnel challenge.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Because don't they also have a product called Your First Funnel?
No, they've been currently doing like a replacement for One Funnel Away Challenge, which is kind of similar, but that is not quite what it's called, I don't think.
Is that what it was? Your First Funnel, start now. Yeah, so they have.
Oh, it is. I thought it was like around leadership.
It's probably the same, but they said that like for us here at FHL, we're getting into that challenge, the VIP level of the challenge for free. But it's probably the same challenge. maybe they're updating it a little bit.
Or they're just making a completely new challenge for 2.0 people, but the only way you can get access to it is you actually have to have signed up and purchase 2.0 in order to get the training, and the training might be just for 2.0 then.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. There's something really important that I think that we should keep coming back to again and again. So in order to be category king, Russell usually says that you have to be able to articulate your problem that you're solving. And I think that is probably the single hardest question to answer in any business, right? The clarity of the problem that you solve, not motherhood and apple pie, but like, no kidding, this is the problem I solve, right? I think it is a very difficult question. And so it was, maybe like 6 months ago, I was at an event and Russell was wrestling with this question, right? Like I don't think he had the answer yet. Like, what problem does 2.0 solve? Because it's not the 1.0 problem, right? What problem does 2.0 actually solve? And he shared that today, and which is like, I think it is so profound, this problem. So he said, the problem that 2.0 is solving is that we don't have customers. Okay, you think about that. That has platform ramifications. That has I'm stealing traffic. That has he even dropped today that he's like, he makes more and converts higher with the organic than he does paid, right? Or with like affiliate or something like that. I really think that their like visionary plan here is to be like a Facebook platform. It's not just platform in terms of open API and open market. It's the people part of a platform. And just that I think they're going to start to go after, the pain point of traffic and how do you do that? And I mean, I don't know. It's exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, that's an amazing problem statement. And how lucky are we, I think, that they're starting to tackle that.
I mean, it's a huge problem, but it's good to see, like, they've realized, like, we can tell people to build funnels all day long and they can be building the funnels, but there's a traffic problem. People do not know how to get their message out there and drive traffic to it. Yeah.
Right. How many clients have you had to say no to? Because you're like, I can't help you until you fix your traffic problem. Yeah. I've tried to fix it in a lot of different ways and failed. You know what I mean? Traffic is a real problem.
Well, one of the things, you see this all the time in the ClickFunnels official group. Somebody will put in a post. It'll say, hey, I just got done building my funnel. How do I get traffic?
Right.
Just like, you should have started on that a year ago.
Well, and I think I didn't understand that until later on, right? Yeah. I'm like, well, you need a funnel anyway, so I'll build you a funnel. But now it's like, no, I won't take your money unless you know what your traffic strategy is and you have it dialed in. Like, you don't need a funnel until you know your traffic, is my opinion.
Well, yeah, I think we were talking last. I think I was talking to you last week, Andrea, or somebody, and it's like, maybe it was on the certification calls or something, but it was it's something that Steve Larson says all the time. Well, he does now that he's grown some over the few years, obviously grown enormously over the years. Is that the last 10% of building the funnel is actually building the funnel.
Right.
It's the first 90% that is what gets you there. And part of that 90% is having done all of the pre-launch stuff and having put the word out there, just like he was talking about today, apparently with the PT Barnum stuff and Susan showing us our notes. I guess I don't need to be sharing my screen.
It's backwards. Okay. I think my notes are backwards.
Okay. Well, put it back up again. Put it back up again so we can.
We talked about it at the beginning of this live, the 5 framework structure that he shared, and that is everything that needs to happen before you start building your funnel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So you got to get the awareness. You got to get, again, we can go back to the PT Barnum story. Why did he buy an elephant and have it tilling the fields next to the train? Because he knew that every day the reporters would drive, come past it on the train every day, and they all started writing about it. So he needed to get the buzz going ahead of time. And so the very last part of it was, okay, now we're going to do something with this elephant, which I forget what the heck it was that they did with the elephant, but they did that. I mean, it's the same thing. There's a great story about the guy who invented steel, and I think he built the Brooklyn Bridge, and people were afraid to go across the Brooklyn Bridge. And so he went to the circus, probably P.T. Barnum, and said, hey, how many elephants you got? And they're like, whatever, we got 20 elephants. Like, great, I need them on Saturday because we're all going to march them across the bridge just to prove to people that the steel would work.
Amazing.
But you got to do all that. I mean, it's a horrible example from a marketing standpoint, but you got to do what you got to do ahead of time. And then the last part is build the funnel.
The funnel. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right.
Well,
we can go for an hour.
Now I'm trying to remember one thing, and I cannot remember what it was. Maybe you remember, Andrea. They teased something today, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to talk more about that tomorrow." Do you remember what that? Oh, memberships. It was memberships. Yeah. So we will potentially have more to talk about on memberships tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll keep you informed, Dan. We'll keep you in the know, and we may do maybe a shorter version of this tomorrow if it makes sense to do that.
And between now and tomorrow, I'm sure that Andrea will go get treated for her COVID or whatever she's got going on there.
I know. I got the vid. No, I don't. It's just it's a head cold I'm ignoring.
Okay. Well, it's better to ignore it until you get home.
No. It's passing. My body's fighting it. It's doing its thing. We're all good.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, guys, for geeking out. This is awesome. Super exciting stuff. And Dan, one of these days, we're getting you here, man.
Oh, I was there. I was there in 2018, and I was there virtually last year. So, and it's like I'm there.
It's not the same without you physically here.
Well, I know it's not the same without me. It'd be a party if I was there. But all right, what I will do right now is I will stop streaming into the group. So why don't you two hang on here a second? We'll finish this up. You can all say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, Susan here. I want to invite you to our special workshops. They are called Geek Camp. This is a place where you can come and learn how to do CF 2.0 for your business, get it all set up, get things built, get them launched. You do not have to figure it out on your own. Come and join us at cfgeekcamp.com.